Preparing for the workplace, section 3.4. Discuss multi-level interview structures and preparation strategies. Okay, so there's code reviews. So essentially what happens is you go into the interview and the interviewer gives you a code example and they'll ask you certain questions about the code. Let's say um, it's some sort of string with a limit. They'll ask what happens when the limit is like the character limit is reached, or like what happens if it's null, so on like that. They'll look at the code. Just ask you questions about the code, how you think. That's what they're trying to figure out. A good example of this is what I'm talking about. So they'll give you this section of code, coded in C. So you have a character. It's a string with a capacity of 100 characters. Um, and so on. They just put strings in it. They'll ask what happens when it reaches its limit and so on like that. The site was pretty good for explaining code reviews. It was colinbreck.com. Another type would be the coding tests, which is pretty popular among developer interviews. This would entail them asking, they'll give you a certain amount of time and they'll give you a question. Let's say they tell you to make some sort of sorting algorithm, essentially. So you would do a bubble sort or something like that. You would code it, comment it, them watching behind you, how you process it, how quick you could do it, see how much you understand. Geektastic was a pretty good website for this. Okay, another type was the subject matter expert interview. So this is when you are an expert in a certain subject in the field. Say you are a WordPress expert. So you would go into an interview and you would just have questions on WordPress, what you know of it, so on like that. You really got to play yourself off as an expert. To prepare for this, really just focus, for the example here, just focus on WordPress. Use WordPress every day leading up to the interview, even before, because you knew you were going for this job. And just practice it. Practice, practice, practice. The next type is team interviews. To prepare for this, you're often, this is the same for panel interviews. Team interviews and panel interviews are essentially the same. Here, you are always given who is interviewing you of the group, so you could research them, figure out where they are in the company, so on like that. So you could prepare questions for them and how they think of the company, stuff like that. Always try and be calm, in the zone is also nice. Try and engage with everyone, because you don't want to, like an interviewer will feel awkward if you're not making eye contact with them or trying to talk to them at all. Keep an eye out on influencers, something like this. The site is pretty helpful for this section, called jobhunt.org. The panel interviews I just talked about. Same kind of process as team interview, but it could be two or more. This concludes section 3.4.